Hello, comrades, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. Здравствуйте, товарищи. Thank you so much. Большое спасибо for your interest and your response to my video story about the Amish straw that broke my Soviet back. In under 24 hours, my video got around 5,000 views, 400 likes, and 177 comments. Wow, that's pretty impressive. So today I would like to look deeper into the topic comparing Amish people in America and Soviet peasants back in the USSR. And I have a really good comment. I would like to read it to you and then we'll talk about it. So there's the comment. Your grandparents grew up in some of the most turbulent times in history. Let's see. Born in 1907, by the time they were in school age, World War I was going on. Then the revolution, then the Polish Bolshevik War, the USSR industrialization and collectivization, World War II, which for the USSR technically didn't end until 1949. I wonder why 1949. Then we got Cold War. The entire time they were children, just getting enough to eat probably took a higher priority than getting education or worrying about indoor plumbing. A lot of the Soviet Union's lack of progress was due to consequences of acts inflicted upon the nation by forces outside of it, like Pilsudski, Hitler, and in the case of Imperial Russia, Tsar Nicholas himself. Those Amish people were beneficiaries of a land which was never seen what your grandparents' land had seen. You are a beneficiary of this also. You need to look a little more deeply and honestly at the situation. So yeah, let's look more deeply and honestly at the situation. Well, we need to look at two angles. First of all, not just my grandparents. I mentioned my grandparents because, I lived with them, but I'm talking the whole village, which I think we had about 300 homes times 2, 3, so around 1,000 people. It's a pretty small village. Had a collective farm, right? So we got milk farm, we got egg farm, and then of course they were planting wheat, rye, and so on. So this is a working collective farm, around 1,000 people, 300 homes. Not a single person, not a single household had indoor plumbing. Doesn't matter, my grandparents, they were just regular peasants. The collective farm general manager, so-called председатель колхоза, was using outhouse. Teachers in local school had only outhouses, including in schools, they only had outhouses. Local doctor, people who worked at the grocery store, everyone had outhouses. Not a single person in our village had indoor plumbing. And I will bet $1,000 that all the villages around our village, no one had indoor plumbing. We just didn't have it. And not just like my grandparents, maybe they were broke and they had different priorities. Even younger people who were sent to work in the villages, for example, when you finish college to be a teacher, it was a free education, but the government will send you for 3 years anywhere to work as a teacher. So that was kind of like a payback for the education. So there'll be a young teacher coming, and usually they provide him housing, but he won't have indoor plumbing. He's gonna use outhouse. So what I was trying to say, that even if you look what kind of achievements Soviet Union had, and those are pretty easy to list. The nuclear development, like creating new atomic bomb and arms race, I would say, Soviet Union was forced to do that. But we were the nation that had the first satellite in space. We were the nation that we had the first man in space, first woman in space. So if you look, there's a lot of achievements, and that's like, this is the good and the bad of the planned economy. If the government really wants to achieve something and they dump a bunch of money and resources on it, they will achieve it. But if they don't care about something, people are going to still live like it's 200 years ago. They're going to live worse than Amish people. So that's the main difference between capitalism and socialism, that in search of income, of profit, there will be small businesses that will be providing services to small customers because they still can generate profit. So even Amish people with their limitations like no electricity, no cars, no this and that, they still find the ways to provide comfort in your home. So if the woman wants to have her running water in an Amish house, they'll find a way to have running water. And that could be all the interesting ways, like they'll put well at the neighbor's spot who is not Amish, and then they send the water into Amish house. I mean, if there's the will, there is the way. But in Soviet Union, if there is no government will, there is no way. So that's, in my opinion, the main weakness of centralized planned economy, that whatever government, don't worry about it, it never develops. It always stays the same. Because, the government officials lived in Moscow and Kiev, and they had hot showers in their apartments. They had toilets in their apartments, so they didn't care. And they wanted to show the world that socialist economy is the best in the world, so they will spend billions and billions to build rockets, to send people to space, to help African countries or whatever. At the same time, same people in the Soviet Union will have no indoor plumbing. Like, they will heat their houses with wood, firewood. In modern days, there's still most of the villagers that heat their houses with firewood using brick stoves. And actually, somebody else brought a quite interesting point. I would like to touch that, is that even if you will be a really handy person and you can design your own septic system, you can design some manual pump or whatever to have water in your house, there was still no service available to pump your septic out. And if even it was, that would be probably so expensive. And now I'm going to share a story with you, but if you are kind of have a weak stomach, you might want to stop video right here, because it will get in a little bit into the gross stage, I would say. So here goes my story about missing the hole. I didn't tell you yet, but I have a younger brother who is 15 years younger than me. So my parents decided to have another kid quite late. That's a separate story, but anyway, so I have a brother, his name is Artyom, and he was born when I was 15, and he was born in September of 1986, which is about 4 months after Chernobyl. So we had quite a lot of concerns, but fortunately he's fine. Besides being kind of redhead guy, he's fine. So he married into quite interesting family. So as I said, we grew up as a blue-collar family. My parents moved out of the villages, and they started from basic jobs. My dad was a spray painter all his life, and my mom was doing technical drawings for engineers. But his in-laws, a guy was a director of the spirits factory. So when you turn grain into alcohol, I forgot the word, rectification or something, right? Factory. And his mother-in-law, she was accountant at some train depot or something like that, but out of the country, actually close to our village. So they were Soviet intelligentsia. So when I met them first time in their house in that small town of Snovsk, I was shocked. First of all, they had a Soviet-era Lada, which, if you had a Lada car in 80s, that's so cool. And they had a house which looked like American stick-built home, and it was built by the factory for their directors. Like, in order to entice somebody to work as a director, they actually provided housing. It was like a affordable rent, maybe, or maybe he even lived there for free. But later they privatized that home, and it's their own now. But that was built like, they call it kanatki, so like Canadian technology homes, which is stick-built. Most Soviet homes in the outer country were log cabins and later brick homes. But this was actually like American standard stick-built home, quite large, had a basement, had attic, had a lot of rooms. But what was the most amazing about that house, it had indoor plumbing. So they had running water in the house. They had water heater. They had also, well, that's town, so they had a natural gas. So they had, natural gas heat in the house and a stove in the kitchen, natural gas. But indoor plumbing, which really shocked me quite a bit. So as I said, when I met them, we had a, as always, you meet people for the first time and you like relate it now. Uh, we had a small, like a party, welcome to the family party, I guess, because we went to their house and I got introduced, and then I needed to use the bathroom, so I told my brothers-in-laws so I would like to use the bathroom. They looked at each other and said, "Well, you can't use the toilet in the house. You need to go and use outhouse." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I saw the toilet in your bathroom right next to the sink." And they're like, "Yeah, it's too expensive to pump out the septic tank. So we use water, but they disconnected plumbing below the sink. So when you use the water drains to the bucket, and of course you need to keep an eye on the bucket, and then you need to stop water when it's time and take it outside and dump it in the garden. They don't really take showers, although they have hot water in the house, because apparently their septic tank doesn't have any leach field, no drainage. It just collects all the water and the waste, and then you need to pump it, and they decided it's too cost prohibitive. So at that time I already live in the United States, so my mentality kind of slightly Americanized. So I'm already feeling really funky about all this situation. Like you have your modern conveniences. It's, for example, like you have a car in your garage, but you still use the horse to pull the car around because you don't want to spend money on gas. You have indoor plumbing, but you still go and use outhouse because it's too expensive. You know what I mean? And I need to mention that I was drunk. We had a real good party, and I said the guy worked at the alcohol factory, so he had in his storage in the basement tons of bottles that he kept from his work way back in '80s. So I'm quite drunk. I was like, okay, outhouse is outhouse, whatever. I grew up using outhouse, not a big deal. And this is that cute part. I asked they give me a flashlight. I put my shoes on, and it's like that redneck joke. If you need to use the bathroom and you're looking for your shoes and flashlight, you're a redneck. So I'm like a Soviet redneck. Got a flashlight, got my shoes on. They told me general direction where the outhouse is. So I got out the house, walked through the garden, and I found, yeah, right, in the middle of the garden, there is this wooden box, a little wooden shed, and it's outhouse. And okay, so now we're really in the gross part, but I have to tell you. So our outhouses were like basic. It's just a hole in the floor, and you need to squat over it and do your business. We don't have any like sitting areas that you sit over the hole. You squat, which is apparently super healthy. So I didn't know that. I lived super healthy number two style for all my life because you had to squat. So that's night. It's dark. I'm drunk, and I'm in this outhouse. So generally, like it's not really a cool situation, but I'm like, okay, like good old times. Sure, I can do it. I kind of find it's almost romantic. I can leave the door open because it's nighttime. There's the bright stars in the sky, moon is shining. It's kind of cool. Sure. So, I squat, did my business, all good. I can't remember they had toilet paper and newspaper. I can't tell you that. I said I was drunk. So then, I'm just decided to check how did I do? And what do I see? I completely missed the hole. So I lost my skill completely. Before when you use outhouse all the time, you know how to position your feet, how to squat right, so that everything goes right in the hole. Your piss goes in the hole. Like it's to the science, but you just don't think about it. Like when you tie your shoes every day, you don't think about how you're tying it. You're just doing it. So I lost while being in America all my outhouse skills, and I was drunk. So now I'm having a situation. There's a giant pile of crap next to the hole. So yeah, that was not cool. I ended up wandering around the garden with the flashlight. I found some kind of board or something laying by the barn. Had to come back to the outhouse. Had to just scoop it up, push it in the hole. So yeah, that was not a happy ending. But this is what kind of interesting situation that people have indoor plumbing, but they don't use it because it's just too expensive. So yeah, when I came back into the house, they all asked me how did it go, because hey, everyone calls me American back home. So he's like, "Oh, America, how did you do in the outhouse?" I was like, "Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm glad I didn't go to be in a bomber squad, squad, because there will be a lot of collateral damage if I'll try to drop any bombs anywhere." Well, I hope you enjoyed this story, although I apologize, it's kind of gross, but I thought I need to touch base a little bit more to discuss the situation with outhouses and indoor plumbing. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye. And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet Union.